All right, OGHQ is about to expand into another 1,600 square feet. So believe it or not, our entire garage next door with office and everything is 2,000. I got the lease for the other half of the building here in November, and I was forced to put my gym that I bought. And normal rational people would like go on a diet or maybe run a couple of miles. Well, I bought a darn gym to get in shape, and we had to put it in here temporarily. And it moved out this past week. And so now we're gonna lay flooring. I already did the lights in anticipation of this, so the lights are done. We're gonna move the cabinets over, put the lift in here, and make this the new, video shooting / my play area, if you will. And we're working with putting Swisstrax down. I'm gonna do Swisstrax rib tracks in slate gray with a black border, just like my normal style. And we're dealing with a bit of a transition conundrum. And so I've been kind of playing with this prior to setting the camera up. But I told Bryce we should probably start shooting now while I fumble my way through this and try to figure this out. So Swisstrax, when you're setting it up, you always want to start on the garage door. Now, this garage is more complicated, and I have a door here, and I have a door here. The good news is that it's on the same wall, so it's on the same plane. All right, so this garage door is on the plane of this wall, and this garage door is on the plane of that wall. It's not recessed or offset at all. So that means what I can do is I can take my tile and I can set my edge at the weather stripping of each garage door on both sides. Problem that I'm dealing with here is this transition up into the garage is pretty aggressive. So there's a pitch here, and you probably can't see it very well on camera, but there's a good height difference here of probably 3 inches. And of course we're driving lowered cars in here, and so when I take and I add another 3/4 of an inch to this, obviously I want to cover up the goofy epoxy here. But if I bring this tile out too far, then it just, it doesn't carry the radius. So a couple of things we could do, I could blow a tap con into this to hold it down, but I'm thinking this is always going to want to pull back up. And so I have these treadwear, they're called treadwear edge pieces that you can get from Swisstrax. But the problem with this is now it makes basically a darn wall that I've got to come up of over 3/4 of an inch, probably close to an inch high. So I've got to figure out how I'm going to make this transition. I'm probably going to pull the M3 over here. We'll pull the Bryce's Miata, a couple of lowered cars to see how to deal with this transition. I may have to move it back. And so I may have to move the flooring back, a few inches in order to not add to the already pretty aggressive transition here to get up into the garage. The transition isn't as aggressive on this door. It's quite a bit more gradual, so not as big of an issue here. But the problem with this wall is super wonky. So it kind of comes out, it curves out, and then sticks out here. This corner kind of juts inward. So I'm thinking the use of the treadwear could be a solution, even though it has diamond plate, and I hate frickin' diamond plate. It's really our only option. I could offset it so that way I can do a cut tile here and then just cut the tiles to carry the weird radius of what should be a straight wall. And then again, pulling in this way, which I doubt I rarely ever will. But if I came around and pulled the car in this way, this transition isn't as aggressive. Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up as close to the edge as possible. We're going to pull the M3 over here. I should go home and get the Corvette because that probably has the lowest front lip, and see if we can get a darn car in here with this aggressive transition. And I'm sure this is a common problem that a lot of people have, so I really want to cover up that epoxy line, but I just don't think I'm going to be able to. we're just gonna get that party in the front look, you know.
Why don't we just get some
Black paint.
yeah, black paint, tape off a rectangle, lay it down,
Yeah.
or even something like what's that crap called? Flex paint, Flex seal. So
That's undercoating.
You can just like rip it off, so someone's not freaking out about the confetti epoxy.
Yeah. So this is where I would want it. So I think I'd leave the edge pieces under there. Let's put this last edge piece in here. Put the garage door all the way up. We should probably just turn the AC off so you can see this is not going to be this is not going to be no good. And even if I tack this down, the edge piece is still going to want to pull flat, pull straight, because this basically turns downhill real quickly. And so that's where this piece would make sense to set this as our transition, which will be Tapcon right to the concrete anchor. And then we'll just paint our Tapcons black. Well, let's just set this here, and then we'll see if I can get up on this with a lowered car. Figure there's 2 cars in the frickin' way. It looks clean, but man, to my maybe it's not as bad as I'm thinking. It looks like a darn brick wall. If you've ever gone wakeboarding and you look at the wake is like this high, but when you're coming at it like 20 miles an hour, it looks like a gosh darn brick wall you're about to hit. God, that looks clean though, even with it being diamond plate. All right, let's move these cars, and then I'm gonna pull my M3 up and see. I think the M3 won't be a problem. Let's see. So the M3 would go, but the M3 is not particularly low. It's going to be lower when I put a new suspension on it. So I still have about 2 inches. All right, let's try the Miata. Yeah, that's good. I think the M5 will be fine. The GT3 will obviously be fine. The GT4 will be fine. I mean, worst case scenario, if the car's really low, we could just put 2x4s right there and just drive up on them. All right, I think that's what we'll do. So I'll just offset it like that. We'll do the same thing over here. That affords me the ability to cut a piece, to fix that. Cut that.
So you just sacrifice full tile on everyone and cut it all the way down.
Yeah. Oh, I'll just flip it from side to side. So normally you can't do this because you need the edge piece to be at the threshold. All right, so let's make sure this threshold works. I think this is going to be the same deal. I think I'm worried about is the darn Tapcons pulling up over time. So when I bolt this down, I'm probably going to want to go top and bottom.
But if you just like liquid nail those Tapcons before you put them in,
Yeah.
that probably never come out.
And you just cut it off then.
Yeah, that's really a problem.
Yeah, that's what we'll have to do. All right, so let me just make sure this transition works over here, and then we can start to lay out the bulk of the flooring. The other thing that's a potential problem here is, I like to put the flooring in tightly. And so this door, if this door is open, we have tons of direct sun exposure. And so if I pressure fit the floor, this here, the heat coming in is going to cause the tiles to bow up like crazy certain times of the year. I doubt I'm really going to have this door open very often with that kind of sun exposure, but I wonder if I should leave a little bit of a gap, unlike what I normally do. I just like it tight up against the wall. So I'm glad that we have this little conundrum here, because these are some of the common problems that other people might have as well. Maybe not to this size, but in like a normal consumer garage, but interesting problems to solve. But man, this place is going to look a little bit different than sparkly epoxy when it's done. So I'm still putting the edge pieces because I feel like that'll help with our transition on our treadwear. And then depending on how the treadwear works out, we might do the same thing on the other side, as the other side's going to become more commercial and less garage, because the other side is where, where we would do all our packing and shipping. And each day that goes by, we get more and more shipments of large pallets of stuff. Okay, I put these two pieces in, and then we're going to lay out the bulk of the floor. I'm so pumped, like I can park my cars out here. Maybe I should put like a little carport thing out there. I'm supposed to be getting rid of some cars though. Alright, so then we'll have to cut a couple of pieces of this as well. Yeah, that's gonna go great. I wish this was the threshold. And we're gonna close the doors and lay the bulk of the flooring out because it's like 87 degrees out here. I wanna lay the floor out so I can get the floor straight, so I have the proper cuts. I think that's gonna work well. So we have I also have AC coming, so I'm gonna do, right now there's a 1.5 ton in here, but we're gonna put a mini split up here, a 2-ton mini split to supplement, and then a large commercial dehumidification system will go up in the duct system, and that'll help us to not sweat our nuts off here in the garage. All right, so let's lay out, the black border is gonna go here. So we're going to lay out a black border. So it'll go here. So we start in this corner. Black is going to go here. And then black will go here. So let's lay it out. See how it goes. This is the easy part. The walls are all getting touched up later this week, because I'm too lazy to do it. Got too many other projects to work on. When you're working with a floor designer, you like these little things, like where we're going to make cuts. They're not, you can't design that in the floor designer, and so you just have to kind of lay out a rough idea of where the lines are going to go, and then you just work with what you got when you get it here in person. So don't stress about getting it exactly correct. So this is why you do looped edge pieces, not pegged edge pieces, meaning you have two different sides of the tile. You have looped and you have pegged. And so the edge pieces you want looped, so that way I can start at the door, and then notice how simple, I don't have to lift the tile up, I just set it in place on 2 sets of loops. So I want the loops to face the back wall. That way I can start at the garage door like I need to, and then work my way back, and not have to lift this up in order to put a tile in place. If I have a tile down and I need to put a peg underneath it, then I have to lift the whole floor up and slide it underneath. It just makes it so much more difficult to install. Whereas now I can just set the things in place and then come back, have your kids come and stomp them for you. But I can lay out large sections. We'll have this whole floor laid out in an hour And then of course the cuts will take longer. But that's the extent of it. So I get a lot of questions about, do we do rib tracks or do we do rib tracks smooth? What do I do about a drain? I like rib tracks because they're rounded, so dirt falls underneath it. If I hear one more ridiculous comment about, well, the dirt, how do you live with the dirt? I don't. It's gone. It doesn't exist. And then all I do is vacuum it up when I want to, like a year from now. It's like a gosh darn dream. And then leaves never make it past this tile. Whereas this epoxy floor is all frickin' scratched up. Looks terrible. Epoxy never looks, it looks good as it does day one. And then what about day two, where it's all jacked up? So if I take a picture of even this sparkly red, white, and blue floor from 10 feet away, it looks fantastic. So do all the cars at a car show. They all look fantastic from 10 feet away on camera. But when you look at them up close, it's all scratched up. I just can't do it. And this is a pretty good epoxy job. There's no peeling, but you can see the cracks in the floor. I can see seams. You know, it's just not acceptable to me, but trip out. You can do all the epoxy you want. Notice I'm covering it up so I don't have to frickin' see it. I don't want to like this tile. It's plastic. It's weird, but it works. And it always looks clean. So this, I'm just going to carry the black border around the wall, the edges of the walls. I'm not going to try to make like a parking area or anything like that. To me, it's not worth it. And it's never symmetrical, or rarely symmetrical. So yeah, so I want to get all the bulk of the flooring laid out because, you know, this wall isn't straight, so it's really hard to decide where to go. So we're going to be doing a new rotary screw air compressor in here, Prevost piping. Again, we already have lighting done. I've got 19 4-bulb fixtures in here. I did 4 bulbs because this is a little bit smaller area instead of 6 bulb. There's no real, I mean, I guess you could do a lighting calc, but I find lighting calcs to not be very useful. I typically want more light than what a calculator is going to tell me. We're probably 110 foot Lamberts in here, something like that. Or is it foot candle? Foot candles, not Lamberts. Yeah, I like the black 2 tiles in. It's going to offset really nicely with the tread wear. Notice my drain. This will eventually kind of conform to it to some extent. So I don't need to do anything special for my drain. All right, I got the bulk of this, so you guys can help lay it out if you want. So you can see this goes down super fast. We're like 10 minutes in. Once you get rolling, especially when you got 10 people doing it, moves fast. So we're just going to carry the black around the edge of the wall like I did on the other side. Just breaks it up a little bit. White would have done pretty well in here too. Rolling through here. This is the easy part though, then we gotta make the cuts. It transforms this place. All right, so I pulled out, this is the section for the lift. And now we ought to be able to go pop back in place, like the same distance from the wall, so we can move the lift. But we'll go in and show you how dirty it was under there. I might as well clean this up while I'm at it. Getting all the polish dust and oil and all that crap off of it. I'm gonna go grab some APC and a broom and just brush this, but this will also dry off in about 2 minutes out here in the sun. But I'll show you how much oil and crap is all over the floor that I didn't even know was there. But this is what I would do if I was up north after the winter. I would just go through and pop my tiles out, pressure wash them off, grab a little APC, good as new. A little bit of a broom, and do this. This is the first time I've ever done this. Any kind of cleaning to the floor. Let's get it from multiple angles. Seems like it'll do the trick. What do you think, Bryce? I'm gonna clean it up.
Smells clean.
It smells clean, it is clean. This is just D101, diluted like normal. What is it, 10 to 1, I think? Or maybe 4 to 1, I think. Using the stinky old Osmatic gun. Need to get the new one on there now that we have them in stock. Probably be better with a little bit softer broom. I'm just going to spray the bulk of it off and then I'll move it into a different spot. This would also work better if I had more pressure. Like if you had like a Osmatic surface cleaner, man, this would work really well. All right, I think I'll just let that sit right here and dry off. And then we'll go pop it in place. Then I can start to cut the edge pieces. It's good. Done. So, like, just take a look over here. So over here, this is the floor. This is what the floor looked like. And it really doesn't look dirty at all. And then you look under here and just look at all this crap, just piles of dirt that I can address when I feel like it. So the floor always looks clean. I've got piles of dirt and box, pallets and box dust and a little bit of oil that I didn't even know was under here, and looks great. So the floor normally looks clean, whereas right now, it looks a little beat up. But what I can do is just pop the floor up. I mean, it's been in here for almost 2 years now, so about 2 years, and I've never cleaned under it. I've vacuumed up through it a few times, but it's been probably 4 months. And this is going to be a bit more extreme than a normal personal garage. God dang it. I'm doing this backwards, that's why. All right, I need to take a rest. I tell you, I ate so much. Can't breathe. Can't even breathe. So, we cut out the sections of the tile of the tile's already been cut, so rather than spend hours and hours recutting this, makes a lot more sense to just put it in place. So that way we can just transplant the lift right where it belongs rather than having to recut. Now it's going to be an extra inch to the left, which will be fine, and then about a half a tile extra that way. So we'll have a little bit more floor space. I really should get some rubber tracks, but we'll see about that. So this whole section comes out. This one goes in. Let's move on here. That one's going to come in. So now we need to take some of these out. Yeah, that really cleaned up nicely. It's like, looks brand new. Does that look right? I think so. Yeah. Okay. So I was thinking about putting the Nussbaum lift in, but oh shoot. But I think I'm just gonna keep it simple, transplant the twin bush. We'll worry about doing the Nussbaum later. So I need to pull out 3 more. So I wanted to lay this all out, make sure it was square. Before I did this, so if you're questioning why we're pulling this out and when we just put it together, it's so I could get the floor nice and square first. That big red section, although it kind of stinks that we'll see it when the lift is up, but so there's our lift. And the good news is the thing runs to here, so we're going to put our box right here. We have to eliminate one of our cabinets because I have one too many. Cut this part out. I don't ever drink this kind of stuff. Yeah, it doesn't do me any good. I need like 10 of them, so why drink it?